When you check into a hotel and you present your ID, do you ever think that you're giving away far more personal information than necessary? The hotel only wants to prove your identity, but now they also know your age, weight, home address, driver's license number, and more. As soon as you hand it over, you lose control. We're often asked to give away too much of our private data. Once it's out of your hands, that information can become susceptible to hacking, the sale of your personal data, or a barrage of unwanted ads. But what if there was an option to verify your personal information without giving away unnecessary, critical, private details? Verifiable credentials, a pillar of Web 5, solves this. There are digital certificates of claims that are easily shared in a private and secure way. They can prove your legal name, age, ownership of an asset, or anything really. Verifiable credentials limit the amount of data you share to only what's required, and they can't be tampered with or faked. Let's reimagine how identification could work. With Web 5, the government issues a verifiable credential that proves your identity and lives in what we call an identity wallet. So now when you check into the hotel, you present the front desk with a verifiable credential and share only what the hotel needs. This establishes that you are who you say you are, without giving away more personal information than you'd like. Verifiable credentials make proving claims easier, more private, and more secure.
Hey everybody, welcome.
Hello.
Peace. Hey guys, I am Ebony Lewis, a developer advocate at TBD. Ace, introduce yourself real quick and then we'll get into it.
Hi everyone, I'm Adewale Abati and it is good to be back live on TBD TV. Feels like it's been a minute. But it's another exciting Friday and today we have exciting conversations with guests and also technology to bring to you. I'm super excited about all of it. And it's nice to be back up here with Ebony.
You too. It has been a while. I feel like the lights are brighter in here. The hair is different. So I'm definitely excited to be here too. Before we get into the live stream and bring our guest up, Ace, do you want to talk about the hackathon we have going on?
Yeah, 100%. Well, first I want to say hello to everyone in chat. Hello, Angie. Hello, Rizal. Who else is in here? Yeah, hello, everybody. But yeah, we have an hackathon going on right now, the ABC hackathon, which is the African Bitcoin Conference. But instead of me doing all the explanation, why not just, watch?
That video of everybody saying hey is my favorite. You can feel how excited everybody was in that video. I love it.
Yeah, it is really cool. But yeah, in case you missed it, we are actually encouraging people to build wallet applications across Africa using the TBDX SDK, to move money, to build experiences, and also solve financial issues across the world. So if you're interested, check out the link, tbdex.io/hackathon, and you can submit before the 15th. Oh, no, before the 15th of September.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So today we're going to be talking all things Sphereon, and I'm going to bring up our two guests. They can introduce themselves. Here we go. Welcome, Martin. Welcome, Neil.
Hello. Hey there.
How you doing?
Yeah, fine to be here on this this Friday late afternoon, ready for the weekend. But,
TGIF.
great to chat with you guys. It's really fun.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you. I know. So it's for the audience. It's late their time. They're in Amsterdam, just like Ace. So thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Do you guys want to like introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us about your journey and what led you guys to this point, to being at Sphereon, and what you guys do there.
Yeah. Niels first.
Yeah, sure. I'm Niels Klomp, one of the three co-founders, together with Maarten, who's also in the call, and Sebastian. We founded Sphereon a few years ago. Back then, with a main focus on blockchain technology, coming from a world of enterprise content management and business process automation. We were used to doing onboarding projects for customers, for employees, for students. Basically, every large enterprise has these really big data rooms typically where they are doing this onboarding. And at one point in time, we came into contact with a project which needed authentication of data, for which blockchain technology seemed to be an interesting use case. And then we started doing blockchain technology authentication for documents, mainly making sure that documents are authentic, that they cannot be tampered with, and that you can prove when a document was created and that it hasn't been manipulated since. And from that on, we basically identified that there was always an identity problem with blockchain technology. And then we were invited as a subcontractor to the Department of Homeland Security Silicon Valley Innovation Program, and which was using verifiable credential technology. And that was sort of the aha moment for us. And since then, we've been doing quite a lot of open source work in the decentralized identity space, creating all kinds of libraries, SDKs that are being used by third parties. And to conclude, because I haven't really introduced myself, I guess, except for the fact that I said that I was one of the co-founders, I'm responsible for all the technical things within Sphereon. So I'm the CTO, making sure that all the software we develop, of course, is according to the specifications, making sure that we are creating the right architecture, and then, of course, also responsible for all the products, so all technical things related. Maarten.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I come up with the crazy ideas. I'm more of a product strategist and looking for business development, and I give the headaches to Niels. But no, just kidding. But it's like you guys are a good team together. You guys are a good team together, and so are we, bouncing off each other. So yeah, so product strategy mostly, and like Niels said, been around for a while, starting with document processing and moving into blockchain and moving in decentralized identities, verifiable credentials, and all the great stuff that we're doing now.
Wow, that sounds amazing, and also like a lot of heavy impact work, like talking about working with the Department of Homeland Security. I can imagine how much weight that has on you to get things right, which also just kind of like brings the question for me, like, what is your background like before Sphereon, for example? Could be from an academic or just experiences you had before diving into blockchain technology or even the identity space.
Yeah, sure. So my background is in the intersection of business management and IT systems, and I've always been on that line there between two, listening to what our customers, what users want and need, and translating that into technical needs, and then basically making sure that we get the value propositions right and that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, for me, well, I've been now for almost 25 years in technical roles, typically, so software development, management, and indeed CTO type of jobs, in all kinds of diverse software solutions, ranging from healthcare systems to online backups to high availability systems, and document process management, like we mentioned already. And indeed, the last 6 years with Sphereon around blockchain and decentralized identity.
Wow, that's a lot of experience.
Which
actually,
you learn every now and then. Yeah.
Yeah, following Ebony's question earlier, about we had like this icebreaker question to start the stream, and people in the comments already answered. And the question was, what piece of technology can not live without? And I feel like you probably had to work with a ton. So I'm curious. Someone in the audience is a cell
What's
phone.
yours?
Mine is a cell phone. I don't know which one is yours, Ebony.
Mine is my Kindle because I
Your
like.
Kindle.
Yeah, that was mine.
Nice.
What's
So
yours?
yeah,
What's your like piece of technology you can't live without?
Yeah, for me, definitely my smartphone. But I love a Kindle too. I've like a zillion
Oh,
books on
really?
Kindle that I'm reading. So yeah,
We're gonna have to share our reading list.
it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Now, for me, it's also my smartphone. Although I'm sort of curious, I want to try it one time, whether I just could live. Well, okay, let's not do too big of an effort, but let's say a weekend without a smartphone.
You can do it. You can
that would be
definitely.
a
Yeah,
bold move.
a weekend is manageable, I think, but longer than that, I'm not really sure, to be honest.
It's funny because I say that, but then so I got an Apple Watch and it didn't have cellular data on it, and I was like, "Oh, it's okay. I don't need my phone all the time." I went to the Apple store within 3 business days.
Yeah, yeah, and the funny thing, of course, is 20 years ago when smartphones came up, everyone was saying, "Well, what do you have to do with a phone?" And then smartphones came, and no, you don't need it. And if you just look at everyone in
Yeah,
schools and business on the streets, everyone's looking down on their smartphones. So you can see that how quickly things change, especially around
100%.
technology.
Yeah, it definitely has
100%.
had a huge impact. And like during you guys' introduction, before we get into like what is Sphereon, I guess it's kind of grouped into what is Sphereon. I actually want to know like what made you guys want to make sure that the products that you build were open source? Because you spoke about that a little bit in like some of your introductions. So you can kind of weave that
Sure.
in what is Sphereon.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah. So originally we came from, of course, from a closed source field. So for us, it was also a transition. But it's, I think, here obvious. I mean, the space is so big. The technologies involved are so wide and still developing. It's just too big to do it alone. You need to really cooperate and co-create and yeah, focus on certain things and let other people do that for the same, and then bring the thing together in a solution that everybody can benefit from.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I or if I can add to that, also I think one of the key issues is with digital identity, you need to trust basically the products that you're using because they are about your core values, about your identity. And of course, it's really nice that you can store your identity in, let's say, a mobile app or in another system. But then you also need to be sure that that data is not being mined by some third party or maybe by even the party that is offering you the service. And so you also need to be able to have experts look at the code and see, okay, since it's open source code, everyone can see that really no strange things are happening to your data and that it's really securely stored. And that was also one of the key drivers of making this technology open source. And the third one, if I may add, is the technology is pretty complex. And that ties a little bit into what Martin said. You don't want to be doing everything alone. At the same time, the technology is also still changing in terms of specifications, direction, and making sure that then the code is open source also means that all kinds of other parties can start using your technology. And if I may add, for instance, TBD is actually using some of our technology. So in the intro video that you're showing, you're really telling the story about, okay, you don't want to be sharing all of your data to a third party. You only want to share the relevant data. And the technology that's responsible for that is called Presentation Exchange. And we actually have a open source presentation exchange library that TBD is using in a lot of its products to be actually doing that's what is called selective disclosure. Later in the stream, I will also be showing an example of that actually.
Yes. Thank you. So like because it's collaboration, it builds trust, it helps with adoption. Love that. And also, can you just give like a quick one-liner? What is Sphereon?
Sure. Yeah, we're a software technology company, much like TBD is. So we build software technology and then help other people put that into use in solutions.
That is a one-liner.
Yeah, I was waiting for it.
That is a one-liner.
Yeah.
So I guess the next question would then be to go into a bit more detail in terms of like, what are the core
Yeah.
challenges?
Yeah.
What are you building at Sphereon, and what are you looking to solve? You've, I think Niels
Yeah.
mentioned has been working on it for 6 years. I'm sure you've had your share of problems to solve and
Yeah.
solutions you've come with, including the
Yeah.
presentation exchange that we also
Yeah.
use. So yeah, just curious to know more about what's going on
Yeah.
right now
Sure.
at Sphereon.
Yeah, sure. So in the intro and also in the first part of the discussion, we always talk about the users and about the wallets, but we focus more on organizations because yes, users will have their wallets and they're really really important. They're actually crucial, and that it's secure is crucial. But they will be interacting with organizations, with companies, with businesses. They will not very often be just interacting with each other or do something themselves on this. So it's always with organizations, being them authorities or being then businesses or a club they want to go to. They will be interacting. So that's where we focus on, because how can they trust that what they receive is actually true, that it's not faked, that it's not thing? But also the other way around, if you receive something like there is someone that says, okay, I want to share this credential with you, this data with you, how do you know that it's really, for instance, your bank that wants to know something, or it's the hotel that you show in the end? How can you really trust this? So that's the problem that we try to solve. And so there is where we focus on most of our effort and most of our time, is helping building solutions and technology that allows the hotel that you mentioned or the government that you mentioned in your intro to issue the credential or to receive credentials, verify them, and put them into the backend systems that they have for further processing or storage.
That's very detailed. But good question. What are the biggest challenges that come into play into implementing something like this that goes from the traditional way that we currently do things rather, to where we're trying to get to right now with this introduction of
Yeah.
fostering more trust. Like, what is the
Yeah.
barrier to ensuring this trust?
Yeah, yeah. I think that what you see is, like Niels already mentioned, is that a lot of the specifications are still in draft and evolving. So yeah, that's one big challenge, and as well the adoption. It's a two-sided platform where you have issuers and you have verifiers. And okay, why should I issue credentials? Is nobody is going to use them and verify them, or the other way around? Why should I change my systems to be able to receive verifiable credentials or identities if nobody's issuing them and there are just a few around? So that is another challenge that is there. And then from the user adoption, yeah, I think that UX will be a challenge. You want to this the potential of the system is very widespread, and the use of the system is very widespread, with millions and millions or even billions of users using it. But those come in all different sizes and shapes. The UX that the user should have should be really simple, but it's a complex app because you want to make it very secure. And for this, yeah, if you want to make something secure, you need extra checks, you need all these kinds of things. So the onboarding is certainly a big challenge from the product point of view. And for the usage is a bit simpler because we expect that people will use QR codes to and which everybody knows, or even NFC or Bluetooth Energy for sharing or receiving credentials, which of course will be even more below the surface. So those are a number of the challenges. So how do we get business to or organizations to adopt this, to issue or verify credentials, and then the usage by people that they actually will use the apps, will use the solutions to actually work with them.
Yeah, and indeed, it's always about ecosystems to drive the adoption of this type of technology. Because indeed, on one hand, you have the issuance, on the other hand, you have the citizens, but also organization in between that are then receiving those credentials, and then you have, of course, the reliance or the verifiers. to which you will be presenting them. And indeed, like Martin already explained, there needs to be something in it for everyone, basically. And luckily, what you see is that also right now the regulations in Europe are changing, but also work is being done in the States, and that makes it mandatory for well, especially state agencies, but also semi-public agencies to start using this technology to be issuing those types of credentials. And the last thing that I would like to mention, of course, is Martin already briefly touched upon it, but there is a reason why the internet hasn't really seen a proper identity layer up until now. It's because it's a hard problem to tackle, especially online, making sure that you really know who you're dealing with. And that's also why the technology behind it is so complex. In the end, hopefully, UX, or the user experience, will evolve over time, and it will be something like what you're seeing now with banking apps, where you just tap and touch and are simply paying. And if the amount that you're paying is over a certain threshold, for instance, then you actually get an additional confirmation. Probably we will see something very similar with the user experience that we will have with this type of technology. Not so complex interactions, which are not really asking you too much about personally identifiable information. For instance, if I, let's say the standard example, if I go into a liquor store and in Europe I need to prove that I'm over 18, in the States over 21, then all that needs to be shared is that single fact and nothing more. And that is a simple interaction. So then I don't need to sort of be constantly acknowledging that I'm sharing that data, because I'm actually already tapping onto a terminal, and that terminal is just asking me, okay, over 18 or not. But let's say if I would be somewhere else where someone really wants to get my address and bank account number or whatever, then of course I really need to make sure that I see what I'm sharing with them. Those types of interactions, I think they will evolve over time, but right now they are still a little bit cumbersome. Yeah.
100% I agree with that. I think I look forward to a time when everything will be seamless, just like, the resistance of using smartphones in the early days, and all of those things. Then it becomes just like how you do any normal thing. The same way we use Apple Pay today or Google Pay or whatever the case is. It just becomes natural, and I think that'll be a fine balance for that.
Yeah. And I think, like, I know we want to like have hopes that it's going to be easier in the future, but I think right now the QR code flow, for me at least, because I'm familiar with QR codes, I'm like, okay, that doesn't seem too bad. And then most of it is done on like the wallets end. So I'm just like sitting there waiting, like, oh, okay, I got my VC, I'm good. So I feel like
but
it's better for sure, because it's an extra step that I need to do when I don't want to do all that, But I feel like at the moment it's not.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting there, but actually the QR flow isn't the most secure flow. So I will be showing a demo in a few minutes as well, I guess, and there will be a QR code involved. Also asking the audience not to scan that QR code, and I know that I'm now sort of stating the obvious. People will probably do it right now, but the QR codes have a problem, which is actually going to probably be solved. So in the near future, the big browser vendors are already working on an API where you basically are able to register your identity wallet with your browser, which then means that, let's say if I have a mobile identity wallet on my phone, that whenever my browser needs to get identity information, it will basically over Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or directly on the network, if you're on the same network, ask my mobile application for the identity information, so that you don't need those QR codes, because everyone can scan a QR code. So if someone's overlooking over your shoulder, they can scan that QR code, of course.
That's a good point. And I know, like, I want you guys to do your demo first, because the more questions I wanted to ask is, like, for like the normal like citizen, they're not too worried about like security and all that, because it didn't even cross my mind. Like, you're right.
Yeah,
you're doing the same flow that I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I'm like, la-di-da, So like, how do you guys tackle like that and getting people to actually care, or at least abstracting it away to the point where they don't even have to think about the fact that this is secure, this isn't secure, and things like that. But we can save that for after the demo.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
any other question you want to ask these?
Yeah, I think before we go into the demo, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a whole program connected to building this specific solution. The German Sprin-D Prototype Challenge. I was wondering if you could share some light
Sure.
for us and also for the audience onto what that is all about.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah, the German project is basically an effort by the German federal government to spur the development of a very user-friendly and a very secure credential wallet for the German citizens. And to do this, they basically started a competition where they invited a number of parties. 11 in total. There's 6 parties that receive remuneration of grant for the work, and 5 big ones like Google and Samsung who do this basically for free, but probably have some other ulterior motives. And they start out with basically 6 parties, and then it's like a really competition, because in 3 phases it will go down from 6 to 4 to 2. And the intention is really in every stage to have some mandatory things that have to be implemented, but also some things that people can experiment with, like things that we say, for instance, we're thinking about building rather than the typical forms user interface that you will see as part of the demo, also like being able to use chat and voice to talk to the phone to basically ask for a credential or share a credential or give consent and these kind of things. So to experiment with a different type of user interface to come up with a great wallet for the German citizens and hopefully for the wider European public.
Awesome.
Like you'll be able to use like voice, I think you said, to like ask for a credential, right?
Yeah.
Have you guys like thought about how like AI and all that is going? How are you like combating that? Like if somebody's trying to impersonate me through AI and they decide to get a credential, like how?
So of course we have all kinds of security measures in place in the app that goes from hardware security, meaning that in order to be receiving those credentials and to be presenting credentials, not going into too much technical details, but you need to have what is called private keys to be signing the receipt of those credentials and to be signing the presentation of those credentials. And of course, we are storing them in hardware, meaning that those keys can never leave the hardware. That means that if someone takes my phone and tries to copy it or something like that, they will not have access to my keys. And at the same time, we're also working on user binding, for instance, with banks in the Netherlands and research organizations, to make sure that during the issuance, as we will see in the demo, there is a strong user binding. So I need to prove with my German card, in this case, basically to a German system, that I have something that in my possession, and that I have knowledge. So that's also basically biometric security or PIN code security in the wallet app. And by combining those, I, at least during the issuance of those credentials in my wallet, there's a strong relationship with me. Of course, if someone really wants to do bad, they still would be able to do that. If someone puts a gun against my head and make me do it, there's nothing that we can do to sort of remedy that, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
We have a question from Rizal. So how far along in the competition are you, and are you close to winning?
The first stage, the first stage ends actually has just ended last Tuesday, the submission, and there will be a review and a conference and a pitch proposal for the next stage next week on Tuesday and Wednesday. So we're right smack in the middle of it. Call us back in a week and we will know.
How are you feeling so far? Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck. Okay, so I'm thinking before we go into the demo, maybe we should do a little quiz just to see how everyone is feeling about verifiable credentials, what knowledge they've retained from like our past live streams too. So let's do like a fun little quiz. And when the quiz goes, you guys can answer in the comments. You guys can play the quiz too if you want. Okay. do? Did anybody get tripped up? No one's gonna admit to it. It's okay.
That's exciting.
They're all experts. It's fine. So yeah, I think you guys can take it away and start the demo. Let's like see how this works.
Yeah, bring it up stage.
Share your screen. Oh, you got it, Ace?
Yes. So on the left side of the screen, you are seeing a relying party, as they are called. So basically a verifier of data, a party that wants to receive some data. And on the right-hand side, you're seeing the Sphereon wallet specifically for the German project, as we have created it this week. And well, let's start the onboarding. So first of all, it has an overview, of course, about the steps that we will be taking. So first of all, we will be setting up the wallet. I need to provide a name and email address and a country of residence. And with that country of residence, we are basically deciding in what jurisdiction you are living, making sure that we take the proper flows when doing the further onboarding. So let's first do that. So first of all, I need to enter my name. Then my email address. And then, as you can see, country of residence, although I'm living in the Netherlands, for now I'm living in Germany, I guess. So let's continue. And now I need to secure my wallet. For that, we will be creating a PIN code. And that PIN code is basically protecting my wallet. We will see that I can also enable biometrics, but I also need to make sure that I keep the PIN code safe and remember it. It's not a really big problem if you would lose it, but it would mean, of course, that if you have certain credentials in your wallet, you would have to request new credentials in order to be able to receive them, because as I mentioned, it's hardware secured. So it's not like we can just do an export really easily or something like that. So let's secure the wallet. Let's create a PIN code. It has some validations about making sure that the PIN codes are not too simple, for instance. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, which is still a really relatively simple PIN code, but okay. And now it's asking me to enable my biometrics so that I can easily share the information. You will not see that screen because that's protected by the operating system. Then, of course, we have some terms on privacy. No one is reading those, but well, if you want to, you can read them. But let's just accept them and continue. And now we're basically done. We can finish later the next part of the onboarding, or we can do it now. But let's do it now. And what I need now is an actual issuer. So in this case, it's what is called the Bundesdruckerei in Germany, which is the government agency which is responsible for issuing, in this case, what is called a PID. And that is personal identification data. So that is the data that all European citizens will be able to obtain in the near future as part of the EIDAS regulation. So between now and roughly 2.5 years, every European citizen will be able to have this information in a digital form in a wallet, exactly like this, of course, with a different user interface and experience. But everyone would be able to use it. So I'm getting, for instance, my given name, family name, and age and stuff like that. Of course, this is fake data that I will be using right now. But let's say that I want to add this. The next step is that I actually really need a German NFC card. So this is a card, a test card that I have over here. And every German citizen actually has one of those cards. So it's asking me for a PIN code, so that card also has a PIN code. So let's enter the PIN codes. And now I need to scan this card. So I'm holding the card to my phone right now, as you can see. Now it's asking me again for my fingerprint in this case, a screen that you cannot see. And as you can see, well, it's not Niels, it's Erica. That is the fake data, of course. So now the German system has issued this data to my wallet. And well, I can back out if I really want to. That is, if the data wouldn't be correct, for instance, I would be able to do that, but let's continue. And now it's setting up the wallet, and we're all done. And we are actually now in the wallet. And the wallet has a list view, and it has a more familiar card view. And if I click on that, then I actually see the information that has been provided to me by the German issuer. And I can also go to what is a credential catalog, where I would be able to receive additional credentials in my wallet, for instance, or I could request the Ausweis EID credential again. So that's the PID credential that I already have in my wallet right now. So with that, I have all this information in my wallet. Actually, there's more information that we are showing over here. So there's also information, for instance, about my age. There's information whether I'm over 18, whether I'm over 21, whether I'm below 65, for instance. We're not showing all of that, and that simply has to do with the fact that we don't want to bother the user too much with all kinds of sort of derived information from what they already know. I know my age. Well, I hope so at least. I know that I'm over 18, so we're not showing that type of information. If I now want to present my data to a relying party, I will now be going to the left screen. Well, first of all, I can use the QR code. So as you can see, it's over here. So let me scan the QR. As you can see, I did that in a smart way that nobody could snipe me, I guess. And as you can see, this relying party is asking for my given name, for my family name, and for my address. And well, if I want to share that, then I can do that. And this is using the presentation exchange. So this is basically saying, okay, let's trim down all the claims that this person has, and we really only want to get the given name, family name, and address. So let's share that. Now it again will ask me to authenticate using my fingerprint. And as you can see on the left side, I've shared the information. It has some sort of issuing authority information in there, but basically the name, family name, and the address are in there, and I've shared that with this demo system. And just to really quickly give you a example of how such a presentation definition looks like, this is what is called the Cloud Wallet, also fully open source, that we have created, in which you can, as an organization, manage credentials. So you can be issuing credentials from here. You can be receiving credentials. As a relying party, you can be receiving credentials. But you can also be managing, for instance, credentials that third parties are handing out to you as an organization. So let's say, for instance, an ISO certification or something like that. You would be able to receive that in this wallet. You would be able to do key management, document management, all kinds of things related to credentials. Because when you're issuing credentials, for instance, there's typically a whole know your business, know your customer type of process involved in multiple steps, where typically multiple departments within an organization or an enterprise are involved. And they are all gathering information, documents, and at one point in time, they will be issuing that credential. And one of the nice things about verifiable credentials is that you can also add so-called proofs to those credentials, meaning that you will not be sharing the actual documents with any relying party. You're making sure that as part of the credential, you're securing basically the hashes of those documents, meaning that if someone is sort of disputing a verifiable credential, that as an issuing organization, you will always be able to prove that you had possession of certain documents and that you can hand over those documents if there's a need. And then the relying party or the person or party disputing the claims, they can see that those documents indeed are valid and have not been manipulated with. But just to go back to this presentation exchange that I mentioned, and now it's going to be really technical. So for the people that are technical, they will probably love that. But for the people not so technical, yeah, this is what a presentation definition is. So what we just
Can you zoom in a bit? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, sure. Well, let's hope. Oh, yeah. It's not really zooming too much, I guess, but Yeah. The rest is zooming. I guess this isn't zooming. Basically, the presentation definition has what is called a purpose. So we need to verify your identity information. So if we look back, and now I'm so much zoomed in. As you can see, this information is literally displayed in here and also on the next page. So that's basically coming from here. The identity verification, and we need to verify your information, is just a display to the user so that you can make them aware of what is going to happen. Well, then we have some really technical things like the type of credential format, not going into all the details. The main thing that you can take away from this is that this is a format which allows for the so-called selective disclosure. So indeed, only sharing the first name, the last name, so the given name, the family name, and in this case, the address and street from the verifiable credential. So this is literally the fields that you can see in here that we also saw when disclosing the information. The people that are really taking note, they also notice that also, for instance, DE, so the letter code for Germany was shared. That has to do with the fact that those claims are always visible in that particular type of credential. So they are not, they are always disclosed, basically. And these claims that are in here, those are selectively disclosed. So with that, that is a short demo. I can also go into how actually credentials from a organizational wallet perspective look like, but I'm not sure whether we have enough time for that. So I'll leave that up to you guys.
No, I think. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say I'm unsure myself, but I just have a couple questions while we also, trying to see if there are any questions from the audience. But I think the first question that came I just lost my train of thought. But the question that came to mind was, this was built for the German, like the challenge you're going on right now, and I was curious to see how other people could use it in terms of storing these credentials, not the application itself, but in terms of the wallet even outside of Europe, or is there any thoughts to that in general?
Yeah, so as mentioned, both this web wallet that you're seeing on the left-hand side, and actually I can do some demo, I guess, as part while I'm talking. Both the wallet on the left-hand side is fully open source. The wallet that you saw for the German project is open source. We actually have our wallet also in the app stores, which is sort of like a bit of an older version. What we will be doing is, of course, the things that we've learned in the German project and the technology that we've added in this project. We will be sort of porting that also to the existing application. And that is usable by everyone except for people in France, I guess. That's sort of one of the only few exceptions, and that has to do with some export restrictions on cryptography. But everyone is able to download the current wallet and also test it out if they want to.
So you mentioned that the wallet is in like the app store, but it's an older version. If you're able to, how is an issuer to onboard onto that to be able to issue a wallet, a credential into the wallet?
Yeah, so actually I can show that, I guess, from this perspective. This is an example cloud wallet. And the cloud wallet has, in this case, options to be issuing credentials. And this is an example that we've done with the tax authorities in the Netherlands. This is just a user interface, a front end. And it's, of course, important to notice that there's actually what is called an agent as a backend. So there's a piece of software which is really responsible for issuing those credentials, also for receiving credentials. Because in a lot of enterprises, they will not really be integrating too much with a user interface on top. They want to be integrating with their line of business systems, their administrative systems, their systems of record, to make sure that they can be issuing credentials from there, or that they can receive credentials and then get them into their line of business system. So, of course, behind all of this, there are APIs. There are standardized APIs, like, for instance, standardized to the W3C verifiable credential API, which is community standard at this point in time in the W3C. And there's, of course, also our own APIs. But for organizations that want to have a user interface on top of that, you can add this web wallet. And just to show you, and this is a really simple example, and I actually cannot show it right now with my mobile wallet because my mobile wallet cannot work with this issuer, but I would be able, for instance, to just issue a credential impromptu from here, and then I would be able to, and this is in Dutch, sorry for that, but this is basically a tax ID. So I could be saying something like, this is the organization, and then I need to fill out a number, which is a tax number, and then I need to fill out another sort of tax number and a third one. And then I would be able to attach those evidence documents that I mentioned. And if I then would proceed, I have now a credential in draft form, which I would be able to issue, for instance, via email or via QR code or using different means. So if I would be doing this with a QR code, it would be something like this. Not going to scan that right now, but if you have a wallet, then you would be able to receive that in your mobile credential wallet. More importantly for organizations is that they also have typically need for getting credentials themselves. So there's also my credentials. And let's say that I want to get a credential, in this case, from the tax office. And I'm now going to show an example where the tax office is going to be issuing a credential to the tax office themselves. So just putting in some fake data. This is an issuer portal, which is in the background actually using that wallet that we just saw. So it's talking to the agent of that wallet. So if I go over here, then I could enter an address in here. So if I take this, sorry for all the switching. If I take this address, then what we will see is that now the cloud wallet is actually getting this credential. So this cloud wallet now has detected, okay, hey, look, I've detected a new contact, which is called the Belastingdienst, which is the tax office in the Netherlands. So if I add this contact, it's now getting the credential from the tax office. And as you can see, it now has the information that I just entered. Of course, I switched roles. Normally, this would be two separate parties doing this thing, of course. But as you can see, I now have this credential card and I have the information in here and I can accept it. And I now actually have the credential in my organizational wallet. And then, of course, if a relying party, for instance, this relying party, which is an example of a Dutch IT organization, would like to receive this, what is called omzetbelasting credential, then again, I could enter the web wallet address. Of course, this is just an example. If the organization already, via some other means, knows where the address of the wallet is, I wouldn't have to be entering this. If I would be authenticated, for instance, in their system, and they already know where my wallet is, I would not be entering this data. Now, again, it's going to my wallet, and instead of getting the credential in the wallet, now I will be presenting the credential from my wallet, in this case to Visma Yuki. And again, you're seeing the purpose in Dutch in this time around, that they basically need to validate your tax information or tax data. Then the wallet is saying, okay, look, I have these suitable credentials, only one at this point in time, but there could be multiple, of course, of them, or there could even be multiple credentials that I need to submit at the same time. Well, there's only one, so it has by default already selected, and if I click on accept, it's sending in the information to Visma Yuki. And as you can see, the Visma Yuki portal now has successfully received these credentials. So organizations have different types of requirements when it comes to verifiable credentials, also towards record keeping, towards integration with documents, towards integration with API line of business systems. And that's why we also have this really big distinction between a cloud or a web wallet on one hand, and the mobile wallet, which is more geared towards natural persons on the other hand. Having said that, and with that I would like to conclude, I guess, the demo. Of course, the both of them go hand in hand. First of all, they share the same technology underneath, so the same software development kits are being used. And also you can imagine that a mobile wallet is very handy for natural persons, but at the same time, when you're an employee of an organization, yes, you are a natural person with your own wallet for private purposes, but it's also very likely that in the future, your organization will want you to have an instance of a mobile wallet specifically targeting the organization, so that you can show to third parties that you're really a police officer, for instance, or that you really are a well, if we talk about taxes, a tax collecting person or something like that. So organizations will also be wanting to manage those wallet instances that they are using for their employees. So that's why the two also work together.
That's amazing. Also, a bit a lot. Which one? So I just want to ask you a quick question to clarify things for myself or any other person that might have questions to the audience. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to share. We'll be short forwarded to Niels and Martin. But my question was more like in terms of clarity, in terms of what you've built so far. So we have this wallet, like you described, because organizations will need to, of course, record keeping or also see the credentials they've issued. So I wanted to be clear because off of your explanation, you also mentioned stuff like the holders, which is the people could also have like a web wallet, right, which is a cloud wallet. So I got a bit confused in terms of like who runs the cloud wallet, because at first I assumed it was for the organization's record keeping. But then you mentioned like different use cases where these organizations want to prove that okay, this person is a tax collector, a policeman, and maybe holders could also have cloud or web wallets along with their mobile wallets. So I was hoping you could just connect like in terms of like the dots in terms of the solutions that are available for the different kinds of people and see how all of that connects together.
Yeah. So indeed, of course, a web wallet like this one can also be used by natural persons. You don't see that right now, but we can enable and disable certain features. So, for instance, issuing of credentials for a natural person in most cases doesn't make an awful lot of sense. Being able to receive credentials from third parties also in a lot of cases doesn't make the most sense. There are exceptions, of course. So then the wallet would be sort of like a trimmed down version of what we just saw and only able to just receive credentials and then present them just like we saw in the mobile wallet. At the same time, it is, like I mentioned, it's using the same technologies. Of course, a cloud-based web wallet always needs to be online. It's not entirely true these days. Sorry? Oh, okay. It's not entirely true, but yeah, you need to have an internet connection to be able to access this cloud wallet. And let's say if I would be somewhere in the woods and I have a police officer that wants to get some information from me, well, I will probably have a hard time having an internet connection and showing that from my web-based wallet. With a mobile wallet, of course, one of the key benefits there is that I can quite easily use technologies like NFC or Bluetooth Low Energy, and then I would be able to prove my credentials using those types of technologies. So without an actual internet connection, without Wi-Fi, 5G, whatever, I will be able to prove my identity. So that's a big distinction. And at the same time, also for employees, we believe that both employees and natural persons should be able to migrate their data. And that's also where you guys come in, because actually what we will be doing is also integrating your technology, especially for our data backends, making sure that we can basically access the data from everywhere, and whether that would be the web wallet, whether that would be the mobile wallet, that shouldn't really matter too much. I just want to access my data, my credentials, my documents, and be able to work with them and present them to third parties. I'm not sure whether that answered your question, though.
For the most part, yes. I mean, the underlying thing is that everything is using the same technology, and if you're also using the cloud wallet or the mobile wallet, it's just a bit of should I say role management or something like that to know what people get. So I think that covers most of it. But we do have a question from the audience, from our Discord. It's a big one. It's an awesome demo, really intuitive, how you show the roles and the issuance presentation, all of that. But I'm curious about the key management. How do you do it on the web or cloud wallets? Where are the keys stored and any security considerations?
Yeah, good question. Both for the mobile, so for the mobile wallet, we actually have what is called an abstraction on secure signature creation devices. That's a whole mouthful of basically saying that we have multiple ways of storing keys. That is either a secure element on the mobile phone, which is hardware protected, but that sort of has the problem that not every mobile phone, especially on Android, supports it. On iOS, it's a different story. They all have it. But on Android, that's definitely not the case. Basically, only the big vendors have proper hardware security. But then we also support what are called remote hardware security modules, which are also hardware protected devices, typically costing an awful lot of money, that you can use. For instance, we also support things like YubiKeys as a additional factor. And what we then do, especially also in the context of Europe, is providing, and we're still working on that to be clear, but providing also wallet attestation. So basically, it is sort of the operator of the wallet or the vendor of the wallet, basically doing a signature as well about that they use their hardware security module, for instance, so that a third party can actually trust, because they know who the wallet vendor will be, that they can trust that indeed the information comes from a device that is properly protected. And the last thing that I would like to mention is, and for the people interested in it, just plugging a little bit here, on next Wednesday, we have a presentation, an online webinar about what is called OpenID Federation. And OpenID Federation is basically trust establishment. So that's basically creating a list between entities about them trusting each other. Typically, that happens within certain verticals, for instance. That is technology which allows you to do the discovery, but also validation of relying parties, of issuers, of wallet vendors. You can see it more or less like a really large phone book. And in that phone book, basically, parties are saying that they trust a direct relationship. And of course, let's say if Sphereon trust TBD, that would be a relationship that we are basically saying, okay, we trust TBD, for instance, to be receiving credentials. And well, then TBD can also say, okay, we trust also all kinds of other vendors. And basically, you're getting this sort of really large graph or tree of parties that are to be trusted. And the wallet then can look up basically in the federations about which party that they trust, so they can sort of start somewhere in the middle of the tree if they want to, if they don't trust the whole tree. And then it's just a matter of making sure that there is sort of like a common ancestor, which the both of you trust, and then you can continue with the progress. So just to give you an example, let's say that the state of the Netherlands would have a federation like that, and that, for instance, there would be a e-commerce trust list in there, and that in that e-commerce trust list, there would be Amazon.com, for instance. If I now would buy something on Amazon.com, and Amazon.com would like to get some information from me, like, for instance, the shipping address, of course, what I would do then is look up Amazon.com in my trust list. So the wallet already does that. You don't have to do that yourself, of course. That's all automatically. It goes up to the state of the Netherlands, and then it looks, okay, Amazon.com, please prove to me that you are part of the trust list for the state of the Netherlands. And then they basically, you can look up that information. You will get to sort of the trust anchor, which is in this case the state of the Netherlands. And from that, I can just gather that they are a trustable party. Of course, parties can be removed from that trust list. So there's always also governance involved. How do you get on that trust list, and do you really trust that trust list? And there will not be one single trust list. But for the people interested in that type of technology, we are creating open source OpenID Federation technology as well. There's a webinar on Wednesday about that.
Yeah,
Nice.
like we said, we can fill an hour and an hour more.
Yeah, we are running short on time.
No, I think that's a really cool approach that you guys are speaking of, like having those different like trust networks, basically. How do people, if they want to join this webinar, how do they join it? Would it be just on your website?
Yeah, I can put it there. I can't put it in the chat, or maybe I can. Let me see.
You can put it in the private chat.
Yeah, I just need to join.
While we're doing that, just because we're almost out of time, I was curious as to, I mean, you're building a solution for, I mean, a specific use case in terms of the challenge itself, but Sphereon itself is also already in that space in terms of identity and trust. I was curious as to the other solutions, if there are any other companies that, currently, using one way or the other that you find the use cases very interesting, or you've adopted some of these technologies in a very interesting way from your perspective.
Yeah, certainly. Niels already mentioned Amazon. Well, Amazon everybody knows, but there's a zillion other web shops out there. And so if you order something at a web shop, how do you be able to trust that this is a real web shop and that you actually will receive the things that you order? And that, I think, is a great use case that we are also approaching to be able to build that trust both ways. So first of all, for you to trust that web shop, but also for the web shop to trust you are really the person, and this is really the address where the goods are being sent to. So as to, there's many other use cases, but this one that I personally really like, because all of us are ordering things, probably maybe some of us multiple times a day, but certainly multiple times a week. Things from web shops, and to build trust there, I think is a really big and good use case.
Awesome.
Because that's where I think also most of the fraud that everybody experiences happens in e-commerce and in ordering stuff and things like that.
Yeah. A few years ago, I tried to build a solution just like that, because I don't want to digress because we're going to waste time again. But I tried to say, for everyone that commits fraud or scams on the web shops, they probably use the same phone numbers or card details or stuff like that across board. And imagine there's a way to verify or track which ones are being used somewhere else to scam, and there's just a central body that checks all of these things. But it was an experiment, lasted not so long, but it's very nice to see different people tackling the same issues across the world. Which also begs my final question before we start to wrap. I don't know if anybody has any. You're building these solutions, working in this space for 6 years now plus. How do you imagine the next 6 years, 5, 10 years to look like for this space, in terms of adoption, in terms of technology itself, and all those other things that will make identity and trust like a more secure and a more natural thing for everybody, right? Yeah.
So let me quickly tell something about what I see as from the product strategy, and Niels can answer some things from the technical side. So for me, the main thing is that there is in Europe, fortunately, the stick and the carrot, as they call it. The carrot is that it will bring a lot of benefits for organizations to use this, and also for people to get their confidential data out of the big systems into their own control on their own wallets, on their own devices. That is a good thing, and that's the carrot, and the stick is that there's a regulation, the AIDA's regulation, that basically makes it mandatory for any organization that works with personal information data to offer this technology as one of the channels for people to share or to receive information. So I think that will drive the adoption in the next couple of years. And it's supposed to be mandatory in 2027 by national laws. So that, I think, is where we will see a lot of adoption and a lot of use cases that we haven't even thought of that will be used using this technology. And then for Niels, for the technology side.
From a technical perspective, I think one of the benefits also of the AIDA's regulation is that it started making some choices. We can all agree and disagree on some of those choices, and there's definitely still some large discussions happening about privacy, and then specifically about the way credentials are currently being handled in terms of signatures. So just to give you the example, the demo that I showed on the mobile wallet, it was actually fetching a mobile driver license in the background, or sort of a equivalent of that called an MDoc. So that is an ISO specification. And at the same time, it was also fetching a selective disclosure job. The user doesn't see all of that technology. It doesn't need to know about it, of course. It's just presented as if there is one credential in your wallet. But at the same time, because those credentials are signed, and you're disclosing information, you also don't want relying parties to be able to correlate or to corroborate and then be able to correlate certain data. So what can happen in a wallet like this is that it's actually in the background not only fetching this mobile driver license or MDoc and the SD job. No, it's fetching multiple instances of those as well. And only one of those instances will be sent to a single relying party. So they will not be able to correlate at all. There's all kinds of things to be said, because there are different types of signature schemes which do this in a nicer way. But the good thing about this regulation is that at least we have some direction now, because in the past we have seen quite a lot of idealism, and that's a good thing, because it's a very hard problem to solve, but it also does hinder adoption of the technology, because there's so many different camps in the digital identity space.
Thank you. That's quite insightful.
Yeah, thank you for highlighting what you think the future would be for it. I just wanted to say also thank you for the project perspective, because I know a lot of projects are focusing on the user experience, but you guys are more so focusing on the organization experience and the trust layer. So that's really cool. So it was really, really nice having you guys here. Normally we do a fun question before we end the lives, but I didn't think of one.
I mean, the one we normally ask is, if you have a superpower, what would it be?
We could do what we've already done, yeah.
Mine has always been teleportation. And if possible, split myself into two and then be able to teleport. That would be divine. I don't know if you have any.
A superpower that I wish I could have. I don't even know. I guess mind reading would be one.
Oh, that would be very. No, let's not do that.
I'm a little nosy.
That would be messy. That would define trust.
Yeah.
Everyone's thinking about on a daily basis. What about you, Martin? What would be your superpower?
Wow, that's a difficult one. I'll skip that one. I don't have superpowers.
Gotcha.
For me, it would be flying, I guess. Not having to be in traffic jams and stuff like that.
Why not just teleport?
Awesome. But that's true. That's true. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
but sometimes
would be better.
You might want the wind on your face, though. So I get that.
Yeah. No, but that is actually a good one. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
So again, it's Friday evening, so everybody cheers. You can see it.
Cheers.
So great talking to you.
Same here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much to both of you. Have a great evening.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us in the audience as well. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.